Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to do a quick tutorial about the new Christmas Rhapsody event and probably spend the bulk of the time discussing what are these strategies in terms of spending vitality on the stages and or trying to seek events for the Christmas tree, which I think is only the only variable in this mode, so to speak. Unless you're like a super big whale trying to fight for the first spot in the server. So starting from left to right, first we have the bandit. Essentially the idea is that you can find them either through the search ticket or through clearing the stages in this mode and spending stamina on bosses and other monsters outside of this mode. The important thing is that only sort of one bandit would exist concurrently at a time. So if you do refresh, I think it's better to either to try to defeat it or to wait till it expires until you actually spend the vitality on other bosses or stamina outside of this mode, just because not only one can exist at a time. It matters because some of the tasks you get in this mode require you to find 2 or 3 bandits per day, so make sure you keep that in mind. The first two are easily acquirable. The first one is literally given for free. The second one typically is a little more difficult, but fairly achievable. The third one does require a lot of vitality and or stamina spend, so just be aware of that. Essentially, I think this mode there's nothing really to say about it, except that you can either fight the boss yourself, or if you have anyone in your club that seeks aid in fighting their boss, which as you can see, no one currently is doing it, you can go over and help them fight it. However, I think the point that makes it a little disappointing is that one, the bosses are pretty difficult to defeat. For anyone who has done it, they will tell you so. I will tell you so exactly the same. And that you can only get limited chances for challenges per day, 2 free, as well as 1 opportunity for aid. The rest you have to buy with gems. And the rewards you get from it is actually pretty mediocre, even if you do defeat the boss. So the bulk of the reward really comes from the, so to speak, the ranking reward. So maybe let's just kind of go through one by one. The first one ranking is the repel. So basically how many bosses that you generated, either you or with the help of others, able to defeat. The rewards for this is like just shit, like the appearance, sure, I guess it's cool, but the figurine, even if you rank number 1, 2, it's like fairly simple, and it gives like a one-time boost of like BP in the thousands, right? And not to mention going on, and like also it only gives reward to the top 30 in a server, so if you're not in that range, you don't get anything from the ranking. The reward you get from aiding, aka helping others to fight bosses, is a little bit better. So first seat get 2 sigil chests for selection, 500,000 coins. Second and third place, you get 1 chest, 400, etc., and so on and so forth. Still, I think this is pretty mediocre reward, considering that it falls off dramatically once you get to below the top 10 range. Top 10 you can still select. Going downward, you only get 1 chest and or it's a random sigil, right? Random sigil, as we know, could be worthless if you get a worthless sigil, essentially. And even these, the selections one, you can directly purchase from store with about, I think, 300 gems each. So really, even if you really work hard to become the number 20 or 30 in your server, you're really not getting that much in return. So especially for the top speeds, because this event lasts 10 days, and imagine the people you're fighting against, many of them probably will exhaust the 2 chances as well as buying extra ones, so it's going to be really hard to make it into top 10. If you can make it top 20, sure. Top 30 is really not worth going for at all. So I think really this event only appeals to probably 2 type of player. One is the those who just are completely fine with just using up the free chances, take rewards, and that's it, or those who are wanting to fight the top 10 spot, which is a fairly limited audience. In terms of the sort of the team composition you use to fight these bosses, I know they do recommend some of these heroes or champions that get boost on specific days, but I mean, unless you have them really trained up, they're not the best in fighting these type of bosses. I would still default to the Zombie Man, the Mind Mask, the Beast Kings, the Sonics of the world, and obviously Boros and G4 to do the maximum damage. There's one extra call out is that if you refresh and it got to like a hero of anyone who has Unyielding, especially Super Alloy Darkshine, I would recommend you not to waste your chances on it, because they would unyield and they would gain 30% of health back. So unless you can literally hit 40-50% of the health in one turn, because remember they also have the shield from base attack, you're never gonna defeat the boss, no matter how many people are actually trying for it. I guess another tip I would share is that because you would want to, you essentially only get reward for aiding people if that boss gets defeated. I would say trying to seek aid and or refresher bosses during the more popular hours of the game, whatever, it could be 7 p.m. Eastern time or something like that. So this is the mode. I think it's pretty. Going to the gift wishing part, this is another one that's actually pretty confusing, to be honest, but also very, very limited rewards. So as you can see, because I cleared the screen already, but each day you'll be prompted to ask to essentially make a wish for any of these 6 rewards. And if you completed the task above with the activity level, you get these rewards, right? The confusing part is that there's at least, actually I think it mentions at least 60 activity. It's not like you can get at least 60 of this item, which would be insane, right? Which is what made me surprised initially, but I don't think that's how it works. And furthermore, if you manage to hit more of these milestones, so to speak, you can get extra sort of copy of this reward. I try my best in sort of refreshing, just to try it out, into making 5 orange, because each of them get 20 points. But for most people, I would say just try for 60, which is probably the point most of us can achieve, and then just get that one extra reward, and let it be that. In terms of selection, I think the only 2 that make sense to go for, let's say maybe 3, is one, the Christmas Bale. So the first one, for redemption. Sort of the second one is the orange chest if you want it, or the ginger man, right, to kind of boost the materials you get from this. So this is pretty much it about this gift wishing part. Just don't break your bank for it. If you were to break your bank, I mean, you might as well spend it on the hero backup as opposed to on this event, which makes a lot more sense. Then we come to the boss fighting, or I guess the monster fighting, right? You have easy and hard mode for 2 stages, essentially Cozy House and Snowy Street, and you get chests upon successfully defeating them, and supposedly some first time bonus if you do it, defeat them for the first time. Make sure to activate the gingerbread men, because you can get boosts for each time for their drop, which is essentially the items you can use to decorate the Christmas tree, right? So make sure all of you at least do it one time, right? Even if you decide, okay, I'm not going to spend much of a vitality on this mode, so to speak, at least do it for the first time, right? So I think then going forward to the Christmas shop, I think my recommendation is pretty straightforward. Always go for keepsake voucher, revert card, and limited voucher first, right, before considering anything else. And as long as you clear those 3 out, you're pretty much free to go. And the others, I think, is more of a luxury than anything. Okay, so this is probably the bigger part, which is the decorate Christmas tree, that I think has a little bit more variable to it, and what essentially got people thinking, what do I want, right? So in terms of reward tier, obviously the eyes on the prize, right? The biggest reward is a dragon badge, which is a very decent reward if you open it 10 times, and then perhaps some of the Omni shards, the Ascension card are pretty valuable too. But I think like any type of these event, all it depends on how much it takes to get there, right? So that's why we're gonna dig into it a little bit deeper. But essentially, what you'll see is that you will get these drops from the stages you just cleared, and then you would need 10 to activate each attempt. And each attempt will give you 2 completion rates. So essentially that meaning each stage requires 50 of these completions, which in turn then becomes 500 materials that you would need to get to the drop, right? So remember, we have 10 days for this event, so that's just sort of what we're going to be operating with because this is the 17th, and the rewards calculates on 5 a.m. on the 27th. So we got 10 full days for this event. Okay, so this is kind of an overview of this event. I would say now I want to actually switch over to the Excel sheet and to discuss a little bit about the strategies on sort of how much vitality to spend and what are the reward you can expect if you're free to play, if you're someone who's a heavy spender. Okay, so let's switch screens. I made a little Excel for this just to kind of make it clearer. But essentially, there are only 2 types of sort of ways you can progress in this mode, right? Recall, we would need 500 materials per turn or per stage to get one of these stages in the rewards. So maybe just to kind of run over a little bit, in terms of spirits, obviously we have the daily free vitality, calculated to be 146. This includes the Saitama quest, this includes the free recovery, stuff like that. And I applied a multiplier because, as you'll find out, it's not like for probably every 12 vitality you spend, you get about, if you have the boost activated, about like 10 to 12, and without it, it's probably like 8 to 10. So it's not like one-to-one calculation or translation, right? So I applied a multiplier if you were thinking about spending vitality to get the materials. And then it comes chances, because we have 10 days, then we have essentially 1,400 vitality, which translates into this amount of material. So all this calculations to say this column refers to, from this activity, how much materials you can expect to have in total. So I think overall, I would probably, I think I would recommend there to be about 3 plans, because as you can see, some of these packs you need to use money to spend, right? So if you're free to play or low spender, it might not make sense to get most of these. But this is, I set it up to be sort of, this is the ones highlighted right now, the guaranteed ones you'll get, right? Because you have the daily free vitality for sure. You will have the chests upon clearing stages for the first time, and you have some sort of first clear bonus. Because I did it already, I'm not sure the exact amount, so I wasn't able to do some testing. For those of you who were able to, just let me know the sort of the actual amount. I just put 50 to kind of be conservative on this side. So this is, you're guaranteed, right, to get about 1,500 materials, which translates into 3 tiers rewards, which gets you about this point, right? Because you open the chest 3 times. Then I think it comes into the specific layering up, right? If you decide to pay more resources and/or gems or money into this event. So if you are a free-to-play player, but you are really trying to save gems as much as possible, because obviously the black tickets is out for purchase, which I completely recommend and respect if you spend that money on them first. I would say try to go for at least to buy the 2 times of vitality per day. So namely the 35 gem and the 65 gem one, because each of them, in total 120 vitality and gives you about 1,000 materials. Immediately boosts you to level 5, right? And in this case, level 5 gets you 2 ascension cards and 5 tickets. So very, very valuable items there. Then I think switching off to the second tier, which is the plan 2, if you are free to play, but you really want to try out your luck in gambling, right? Let's say if you really want to try your orange gear luck, because I know it's like not easy to get if you don't spend money on packs necessarily, then essentially you go from there, right? So what else you can add from this list of resources or packs you can purchase to get to the goal. So first, you can probably try to daily wish to wish for gingerbread men. As you can see here, this is an option. And I think you almost guarantee to get at least 1 of these and probably 2 of these, because it's only requires 60 activity level. And remember, each gingerbread bread works for 5 stages, and each stage clear provides 2 materials, right? So essentially, if you get 2 gingerbread per day, it translates into, let's say, so it translates into 20 of these materials, right? So if you go for that, at least it gets you to 5.5 level of clear. And then you probably can either go for the third vitality purchase, which makes it to 6.5, and then spend some sort of the intel to get to the next level. Or you just want to do that third vitality purchase and the weekly spirits pack, it gets you to 7 sort of levels, right? So I would probably choose one between the two. I think this is probably around the sweet spot. So you, assuming you have some Saitama intel saved, right? You buy the weekly spirits pack, and overall at the end of the event you can likely get around very close to 7 level of rewards, and then you buy some vitality towards the end of it to get to this villain Omni shards. I'm intentionally skipping the King Appearance because, to be honest, it's worthless if you really aren't a big fan of character, or you're just really not into that type of stuff. So if you're free to play and you really want to try your luck in the orange gear, I think you could go for the 1 and 2 vitality purchases and weekly spirits, and the daily wish to make a gingerbread man, right? To make sure you get to that 7 level of rewards. And then I think the third option really is for the whales, right? For those who really have their eyes on the dragon badge, which myself included, then I think you just want to get every single item on this sheet, because once you do, you get 5,000 materials in total. So just to recap, right, we have the some of these are paid packs, such as the weekend spirits pack, such as the daily luxury pack that gives you vitality. Some of these are also paid money, such as the Christmas Rhapsody pack. I think it's $9 in store if you want to get that. And you could either choose to make the wish gingerbread man, or to sort of trying to get vitality from some other sources as well. So you have a little bit more flexibility there. But if you manage to buy all these materials, you can barely, as you can see, just barely get over the edge at 5k materials. So I think overall, unfortunately, this is one of those where getting top tier rewards really require to spend a lot of money and or gems, which I guess is fair because Dragon Badge is one of the more valuable items in the game. But I think for free to play or low spending players, just have your eyes on the prize, right? I think you just want to aim for level 5 or level 7 by doing some of these selections before and spending the resources accordingly. I can also completely respect, right, if you, let's say you stop at level 5 and then you want to say, okay, I just want to have more vitality for the talent system, right, to boost my BP. That's completely fine too. Overall, I think the reward of this event, given the context, given Christmas is such a big holiday, sort of nationally or internationally, the rewards is arguably pretty disappointing. But at least this is how you make the most out of it. All right, so wish everyone luck. Make sure you get some good time in the holiday season, not just spend it all on this video game. Try some other video games too, right? And let me know if questions. All right, see ya.